Welcome to Living from the Soul. This is your host, Sam Torode, and today I'm excited to be speaking with Nicole J. Butler. You might not know Nicole's name, but you've probably seen her on TV. She's had small roles in a number of shows, from ER and CSI up to the recent Netflix comedy Space Force. She also starred in a viral State Farm commercial as the character She Shed Cheryl. Try saying that 3 times. And in 2020, she wrote, produced, and starred in her own comedy series on YouTube called Sister President. Well, happy impeachment, Nicole.
Well, happy impeachment to you too.
Yeah, and we've been commenting and watching it all on Twitter. It feels a little helpless at times. That's all we can do.
Yeah, that's it. That's really it. And know that this will pass. It will pass. We just need to survive until it passes.
What are you doing to hold up? Anything in particular? Any practices you're doing to keep your spirits high?
Well, until recently, I've been working through this whole thing. Like, I turned a closet into a voiceover studio. And so the past year has been insanely busy for me. And so between that and then the pandemic, because if you're busy, like there's not enough time to sit and just process what's happening, and just feel it, be in my body and feel how I feel about it. It's just been from one thing to the next. I bought a treadmill, which helps tremendously, because in the beginning I wasn't getting much exercise. I was scared to go outside. I didn't know. Yeah.
Right.
So walking on my treadmill helps. And sometimes I just shut down everything, turn my phone off, the TV's off. It's just me in here by myself in the quiet, just so I could hear, the sound of my own heartbeat and my own thoughts.
That's great. I haven't done as well as you. I mean, working at home, being a writer, I have all this time on my hands. So it's been tough to pry myself away from following the news and Twitter.
Yeah. But I'm sure you can feel a difference in, we want to stay informed on the news and Twitter, but then you find your shoulders up near your, up near your ears, and you turn everything off and go do something else, turn on some music, dance, cook, whatever, and you feel normal again. Mm-hmm. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, even walking outside today, it's a beautiful sunny day. And I thought, wow, the world is perfect in this moment, right here.
Yep. Yeah.
Finding that balance between being informed and overwhelmed can be very difficult.
That's it. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, where did you grow up, and what was your family like growing up?
I grew up in Chicago. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I've been away for a long time now, but I will never not be a Chicago girl. And my family, I grew up, there were 3 generations of us. At one point, there were 5 generations of us that were alive at the same time. So I grew up with my grandparents, my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandmother. And they all parented me. So it was like my family was my village. And I was fortunate in that they made me feel safe. They really did. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. We were in church all the time, which I didn't love being in church that much, but it did give me a foundation. And yeah.
My grandfather was a Baptist minister too, so that must be why we connected. We have that in common.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah, you get watched a little more closely when you're a child or a grandchild of a minister. And siblings, I have 6 younger sisters that grew up in my same household, and then I have a brother. My parents divorced and remarried, and I have a brother who's my dad's son. But yeah, it was a big family, and I'm the oldest. So I was the one in charge, the one who had to set the example, the one who got in trouble for not setting an example.
Often you hear it's the youngest who's the entertainer of the family. So were you the entertainer of your family, or did that come later?
It came later. Yeah, I was kind of the regulator, you know, second in command because my stepfather was at work most of the time, and my mom. I mean, if you got at any given time, she had 5 kids in the house, and you got that many kids, you need some help. so I was the help. I helped. Yeah, no, the entertaining came later, but my family was always performing in one way or another. We had a number of musicians in the family, so my home was always filled with music. I was in everybody's choir growing up, and that was just part of everybody's church choir, and that was just it was just what you did. But it wasn't that I saw myself as the performer. That came way later in college.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where did you go to college, and how did that desire to become an entertainer come about?
I went to the University of Iowa. I graduated from high school when I was 16, and I wanted to come to California. I was like, no, I want to find a college in California. I wasn't even positive about what I wanted to study, but I wanted to get away from home. And my mother said, no, you're still a minor, and you have to be somewhere where I can drive and get to you if something happens. Okay. So I ended up at the University of Iowa as a Spanish major. I love foreign languages. And then the closer I got to graduation, the more I realized that I needed to put something with Spanish so that I could get some sort of job when I got out. And I just took all these classes. Economics class, nope, not for me. Business class over here, nope. I took a theater class just on a whim, and I loved it. And the acting bug bit, and my professors encouraged me to continue. Until then, I didn't think acting was a real career for regular people. You see celebrities, and you don't really know how they got there. But acting, how do you pay the bills as an actor? I didn't know, but I knew I loved it. And then I met people in the theater department who they were in academia, but they had found a way to make a living at it. So I pursued it. I stayed in school longer so that I could double major in Spanish and theater.
Wow, and how did you find out how people are able to make a living from this? Did you find a mentor or someone who helped you move to LA?
Well, no, no. I didn't even know I was going to move to LA when I decided to study theater. I just knew that I loved it the same way that I loved languages. I figured I'll do what I want to do. I'll do what makes me happy, and I'll figure the rest out later. um, and I did have a mentor, and we're still close today. A professor of mine, Harriet Pierce, she took me under her wing because there wasn't a lot of cultural diversity in Iowa at the University of Iowa.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was culture shock when I moved there from the south side of Chicago. And she was an African American professor in the theater department, and all the African American kids kind of flocked to her, because she was the only one that, yeah, I don't think I'm missing anybody, but yeah, so she would have events at her home for us. It was just kind of like taking care of us so that we didn't just get lost in the shuffle, because a lot of plays that were put on at the theater department had nothing to do with our culture as African Americans. A lot of times there were period pieces that, they weren't going to cast us in. So she just kept us from getting into despair, like, oh, I can't do this. And I met other people in the theater department who, whether they taught or they wrote plays, or they went and guest directed in different places, they were doing it. So I figured, okay, well, somebody's doing it, so I can do it too.
Well, what was it about theater what did it do to you that grabbed your attention so much?
It just felt pure. It felt like there's usually a lot of artifice in talking to people unless you know them really well or you feel really comfortable with them and you can be honest and be yourself. And especially at that time as a young, I was like, I don't know, to early 20s, the theater felt like church to me. It felt like a place where I could just go and just be and just, and not worry about a lot of other things that were going on, everyday life things. I was able to build something within the world of whatever play I was working on, whatever project I was working on. And it was all hands on deck. We were there to build something, all of us. And it was beautiful in a way that I hadn't found anything else to be.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And did you just move to LA on speculation, or did you have a line up a job first and then move to LA?
No, I visited. I didn't know. I knew I needed to move to one of the coasts if I was going to make a living at this. And I went to New York twice to visit, and I realized I can't live here. The buildings are right on top of one another. There's too much concrete. People are right on top of one another. I need some wide open spaces and some trees. And then I had never been to I hadn't been to California. I just knew what I saw on TV, and it looked it looked wonderful. And I bought a ticket, and I got on a plane, and I came here. Now, luckily, there were some other students from the University of Iowa, well, graduates who had moved here. And one was a former roommate of mine. And she said, "Hey, whenever you're ready to come, I got a couch. You can come and sleep on my couch." So I did. I lived on her couch for about, it was either 4 or 5 weeks until I could find a job and find a place to live. And we're still friends to this day, which is great. Yeah, that was a long time
I
ago.
think there's a stereotype that I know I bought into in the past that, oh, actors aren't that smart, or it doesn't take much intelligence to be an actor. But so here you are and graduating from high school at 16, and I've definitely learned that
Mhm.
acting takes an amazing amount of both intelligence and the ability to memorize and emotional intelligence.
It does. It does. It takes those things, and it takes some people are gifted from the start, and different that can happen in different areas where you look at a child or somebody who's really young and you're like, how is it that you're able to understand this because you have no life experience? How do you get it? I wasn't that way. So I had to work really, really hard. Writing comes easier to me or more natural to me than acting does. But that was part of the challenge. It was, okay, there's this thing that I'm intrigued by. I'm really intrigued by acting. I love it. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm going to put in the work that it takes to get good at it. And that's what I did. But yeah, you have to have some sort of intelligence to understand what's happening in the script, to be able to memorize. You have to have emotional intelligence because you have to process the written word into emotions, and then know how to convey them honestly and have the courage to convey them honestly, because sometimes you have to portray things that aren't comfortable or aren't acceptable in society at large, and you just have to put yourself out there. Yeah, it takes a lot. And I didn't know it at the beginning. I might not have done it had I known what it was going to take. I don't know.
What's it like actually
Yeah.
being on set for you? Because I was an extra in a movie one time. I was staying near University of Chicago there in South Chicago, and a call came out for extras. There's a scene in a chapel for the movie Proof with Gwyneth
Okay.
Paltrow and Anthony Hopkins. And so I stood in a line with hundreds of other people for hours in the hot sun. Then we finally got inside, and it
Oh,
was everyone else pushed their way to the front, so I was in the back seat and didn't end up in the final movie.
okay. I was going to go back and look for you.
It was I thought a grueling experience, or I thought, wow, these actors actually have to work hard. There's a lot of downtime, a lot of waiting. How was that experience for you?
I started out doing extra work. When I got here, I got stuck in corporate America for a while. I was miserable. I got miserable enough that I decided to go back to acting class to sharpen up again, and then launched my career. In the beginning after I launched my career, I did some extra work just to understand, okay, what is it like on a set? And to be able to watch the other actors and actresses who had been doing this for a long time. That was hard. Being background or extra was really, really hard, because sometimes people didn't see you as people, see you as a person. You were just, when they call it a cattle call, it was kind of like they felt like they were herding a bunch of cows, here. Folks weren't always nice. There was a lot of waiting in the hot sun, not just feeling like an afterthought. And it was hard. I found it hard for me. I think I did it 3 or 4 times. And if I had to do it much more, I don't know how that would have turned out. But luckily, I did book a commercial that made me union eligible, SAG eligible. And then I shortly after that, I joined the union. And I've been working as a principal performer ever since. But I appreciate extras and background performers and everything that they do. They're essential, but they're considered at the bottom of the food chain, and it's like people forget that they're people, like yeah. I've even been told, I'll speak to anybody on set, and I'll see extras, and now I'll go out of my way to speak to them, because I know what it's like. And in the beginning, though, they wouldn't speak back, and I would be like, I remember asking one guy, "What's going on?" Like, "Hi, you can say hi." They told us not to talk to you. And I'm like, you can't talk to me, really? Like, okay, I get it. If they say, leave Halle Berry alone, don't talk to her. You can't talk to me? That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, what was the process leading up to, say, your State Farm commercial? Was it a process of going through auditions, getting jobs along the way, or is it more about networking and who you know?
It's all of it. It's all of that. I do audition a lot. I have a good team. I have a lot of agents and a couple of managers, and they are really proactive in seeking out opportunities for me to go and audition. Now I've been around for so long. I've been working steadily since 2005. So I've been around a while. Most of the casting directors here know me, and they often ask for me by name. And sometimes I don't even have to audition. They'll say, "Hey, I got something for you." I have one that calls me directly and says, "Hey, are you available? We need you for, XYZ." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Great.
Oh Lord, I've rambled and now I forgot the question.
Well, I was asking about the lead up to the State Farm commercial. So what was your experience with the She Shed Cheryl commercial and that gaining a lot of traction and popularity?
An audition came in, just like all the other auditions, and I didn't know what a she shed was. And so I Googled it, and Google search led me to Pinterest. And I'm like, "Oh, these are cool. Like, this is a little shed and colorful and everything. Just, something that I would be interested in as Nicole." I learned my lines. I went in, I did the first audition, and it was no big deal. I thought it was a cute concept, but I do this all the time. And so I audition and I leave it. I don't even think about them again, because otherwise it makes me neurotic. And then I got the call back. I'm like, okay, cool. I go in and I saw an actor that I know. And I was hoping that we could go in together so that he could be my husband, since I knew him. But I got paired up with someone else who I had seen him on TV, but I didn't know him. He seemed nice enough. We greeted each other. We went into the room and we did our audition and left. And I was done with it until I got the call. And same thing. It was just like every other audition, every other job. This one shot at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. So when we pulled up to the Rose Bowl separately, I pulled up there and I saw a she shed on fire. It was just flaming in the parking lot. I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. So I watched that for a while. Then I had to get ready. And the guy, I was curious to see who they cast as my husband because I didn't know. And it was the guy that I auditioned with. His name is Reggie Corelli. He's better known as She Shed Victor now. They shuttled us both to a backyard of someone's house in Pasadena. And that's where we shot our part. So we weren't actually in front of a flaming she shed. Uh-huh. We were in front of a tent with moving lights in it. Yeah, and they superimposed the she shed over it. But it was just like any other commercial until it blew up. Something about it resonated with people. It made people laugh. And I knew it was big when strangers started yelling she shed at me on the street. I had no idea how big it was. I stream all of my TV. So I actually didn't see it that often. And I heard later, yeah, it's on like it's every other commercial all day long, every day. I had no idea.
Well, it finally happened, Zachary. Somebody burned down my she shed.
Nobody burned down your she shed, Cheryl.
Well, my she shed's on fire.
Your she shed was struck by lightning.
Zachary, is my she shed covered by State Farm?
Your she shed's covered, Cheryl.
You hear that, Victor? I'm getting a new she shed.
Yeah. And somebody said, well, you're like the where's the beef lady now. And I'm just like, am I really? Because I remember that. And I remember how big that was. But it feels different when you're inside of it. It feels different from inside. Because I'm just me. Like I just went to work,
Yeah. And I don't get the impression that it defines you at all. It's not going to typecast you in any way.
No, I don't think so. I've worked a lot since then. And I had worked a lot before then. I think maybe had that been the only thing that I'd done, then people would think that's all I could do. But I've been around for a while. Yeah.
And did having that viral commercial success, did that lead up to you launching your own program of Sister President? Or would that have come about no matter what?
That would have come about no matter what. I'm always looking for ways to keep life interesting for myself, and that includes work life. And auditioning and saying other people's words, and a lot of times in roles that aren't that big. I haven't done anything that I feel is like allowed me to go as deeply as I would like to go into a character. It's just usually, one day here, one day there, a couple days here. But as an artist, there's more that I want to express, things that I see going on around me, and I'm constantly writing. I'm always writing something. And the courage to go ahead and crowdfund for it, I think that was an outgrowth of the popularity of the She Shed commercial. Because all of a sudden people knew they know who I am, and some of them like me. I'm like, well, maybe I can get this project off the ground, and it doesn't have to be something else that I've written that lives in a binder. And so it facilitated things, that's for sure. But I would have found a way to do it anyway.
Is Sister President the first show you've written that has actually been filmed, or did any of your previous projects?
It's the first one that I filmed that had a budget. I did another one before. It's on YouTube. It has a curse word in the title, so I won't say it, but it's Shooting the F. And that came about I had two friends. You know how you get on these, have a group text or group chat? And I had two friends that we would, at that time, we would text each other all the time, like all throughout the day, whatever we saw, whatever observation, joke, whatever. And we would also have just interesting conversations about life and things that we were going through. And I thought about, okay, some of these conversations I find really interesting. I wonder if other people would too. So I started writing scripts. I developed characters for each of them that were really close, and myself, that were close to who we are, but not exactly. And wrote a comedy, shooting the blank. It's on YouTube, and it was no budget. We shot it on iPods, and there were just the three of us and the director, who was also the cameraman. But Sister President actually had a full crew, a budget, and yeah, it was the biggest undertaking that I've had so far.
Great. Well, I'll include links to it and such, but do you want to give a quick synopsis of the concept?
I would love to. Sister President is about two sisters who are very different. One is very reserved, the other one is outgoing and outspoken. They criticize the incumbent president at a town hall meeting, a virtual town hall meeting, and he challenges them to run the country. But there's a catch. If they don't meet his approval rating, then they're going to end up in prison. And they agree to it. The outspoken sister agrees to it and kind of drags the other one along. So it's about two middle-aged Black women at the helm of the United States with no experience and figuring it out on the fly and seeing what happens.
It's very funny. I think it picks up steam as it goes along too. The later episodes, to me, were my favorites.
Oh, mine too, actually. Yeah.
Was Sister President inspired by the Trump era at all, or was it a reaction to Trump, or no?
It was. I was so disturbed. I was so disturbed when Donald Trump got elected. I didn't think it was actually going to happen. It did, and I was dazed for a while. And friends and family members, people that I talked to, felt the same way. And I just started writing some of those thoughts down. And it looked like, okay, I have something here. I don't know if it's a script or a story or what this is, but pretty soon different characters were distinct. And so I formed it into a pilot. I had some friends read it. And originally, the incumbent president that they criticized, his name was Ronald Crump. Character name. And friends were like, that's a little too on the nose. You might want to change that. So yeah, they were definitely inspired by current events.
Great. It's good that you didn't make it too dependent on Trump, though, because it can still have a life after he, fingers crossed, leaves office next week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I got lucky on that one. We were close to being done editing. And do you remember last year, maybe early summer, when nobody could find Kim Jong-un?
Yeah.
Do you remember that, when people were like, we think he's dead,
Yeah.
all kinds of theories. And so I was freaking out because we took so long to edit that I was like, oh no, this man is going to die. Because I mentioned Kim, there's a bit with him in the script. And I'm like, this man is going to die. And then this is going to be in poor taste. Like, we have to get, I just had to go lie down because I was just like, we did all this work and now it's not going to be relevant anymore, or it's going to be inappropriate. Yeah. That's
the pitfall of doing anything that ties into current events.
Yes. Yep. Now I know.
I wanted to see what thoughts you have on diverse representation in media and entertainment. This morning I was thinking ahead to this. I was remembering back. I grew up in a small town in Michigan with only one Black kid in my high school and one black kid in my church. And so most of the Black people I saw were on TV. And I was thinking how important that is then.
Yeah, it's really important. Going to school in Iowa, I remember there were a lot of kids that were from smaller towns in Iowa or other places in the Midwest, and they had never met Black people. I didn't find any of them to be malicious, but there were some comments that would, I would just be taken aback at like, I don't understand. Somebody was mesmerized by the fact that the inside of my hand is a different color from the outside of my hand. And I would never think of that. I'm like, it's a different type of skin. You don't tan on the inside of your hand. Like, it's just different, but if you don't know, you don't know. So luckily I didn't meet with a lot of malice. There were some incidents. It was just ignorance from not having been exposed. I think it is very important for everybody to see themselves and for us to see one another, because then you get used to the fact that there are different types of people in the world, and honestly, we're more alike than we are different. Once you really sit down and you start talking to people, there are more similarities than there are differences, and that's a way for us to unite. Unite, this country. I don't know where we're going right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think I had a blind spot to racism growing up because I didn't see it. There wasn't any opportunity for it. I would hear about it some on television, so at least I know it had existed. But I think that tied into becoming a young Republican. Was Reagan was the great president on TV, and then I didn't see much injustice in my personal life or my town. So it wasn't really till moving to Nashville around age 30 that then I saw, what's going on, what life is actually like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I was sheltered. I was pretty sheltered. Again, like I said, my family, they really just kind of built a hedge of protection around me, all the kids. And when things would happen in school, a teacher does something that's unfair. My great grandmother, especially, would always say, "Is she colored or is she white?" And and I would wonder, well, why does that matter? Like, what difference does that make? But I picked up that, I'm gonna be, I might be treated unfairly because I'm Black. But it didn't happen to me for a long time. Yeah, I think I was probably 8 or 9 the first time somebody yelled the N-word, and even then I was just kind of like, why'd they say that? Like, it didn't hit me personally because that just wasn't part of my world. It was just like, what are they talking about? You might as well call me a table. I'm not that either. Like, why are you even saying that? But as I got out into the world and experienced, people who thought I shouldn't be in college, or assumed that I was an athlete, you're here on an athletic scholarship. Why, or in rhetoric class, when we're reading a book and there's street gangs in the book and people are turning to ask me questions. And I'm like, I'm in here with you. Do I look like I'm in a gang? Why are you asking me? That kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the Live True Project, and what are your goals with that?
The Live True Project is my production company, and the name comes from the Sanford Meisner technique. Sanford Meisner was an acting teacher.
I've heard that name. I've heard the phrase Meisner technique, but don't know anything about it.
Okay. I studied the Meisner technique for 2 years, and its central tenet is acting is the ability to live truthfully under the given imaginary circumstances. In a script, you're given the circumstances, you're given a name, you're given a time period, and my job as an actor is to live truthfully. Studying that technique changed me as an actress. It changed me as a person. It taught me how to read other people's behavior and also get to the heart of what's true for me in any given moment. And so I wanted the name of my company, the Live True Project, to pay homage to that technique, because it really has changed my life. What I want to do with my production company is to continue to write projects for people who don't usually get to tell their stories, because I'm a middle-aged woman, middle-aged Black woman, bigger than a bread basket. I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm a large woman. A lot of times we get stereotyped. We have a hard time getting cast at all. I have friends who are gay, lesbian. I'm writing stories for them. Like, I just want to tell the truth, be honest, tell stories about people that we don't see on TV or on screen every day. That's my mission.
That's great. Wow, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
You said something amazing a minute ago, that the Meisner technique is about inhabiting a certain role of a character's place and time, and then living truthfully from that. It struck me that that's kind of a metaphor for all of life, where a lot of spirituality teaches that our souls are assigned or choose to incarnate in a certain place and time and character and go from there.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So would you say acting can be a spiritual practice?
Yeah, yes. And I think that's what I felt when I first got involved in theater. I think looking back, I didn't know it then, but I just felt like church. And I remember saying that to my mother, and she was like, "There's no God there. What are you talking about?" I'm like, I can't tell you. It feels spiritual to me. And it is, because our spirits know the truth. They know what's true and what isn't. Yeah. And what comes from the heart reaches the heart. That's why when you see bad acting, melodramatic acting, you just kind of like, okay, yeah, I see you crying, like I feel nothing, but when it's real, our spirits recognize truth.
And you don't have to say anything that might implicate your family, or you don't embarrass yourself in front of your family. What has your journey been, growing up in church to where you are now spiritually? How would you describe that?
Are you asking me how much of a heathen I am now? Is that what you're...
Exactly.
I have moved away from dogma, because I think it serves to separate people more than to unite, and more towards spirituality, where I pray every day, like multiple times a day. And it's not a formal prayer where I have to get down on my knees and pray, or anything like that. It's just communing with God, as I understand God to be. I feel like, personally, I feel that God is in control of everything. And nothing happens unless God, and some people see it as the universe. The universe there's certain laws in the universe. I can use them both interchangeably. I don't get all up in arms about the words that people use. But I am spiritual. So I'm glad I had the foundation that I had, but I've moved away from strict rules and dogma and, that sort of thing. And sometimes my mother does call me a heathen. with love.
Yeah. I think you and I have had a similar journey there. Like I said, I had a Southern Baptist preacher grandfather, and we've reached a similar place. I think that's partly why I enjoy following you on Twitter so much, besides all the anti-Trump commentary.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I read your book, The Dirty Parts of the Bible, it resonated with me. I was like, oh, I like this. I really like, and it's a parable. Like, I just thought it was really clever. It can stand on its own as just a story, but then when you look at it and you're like, oh, it's okay. I see what you're doing here, Sam. I see what you got going on. Yeah.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate your kind words about that book. Thanks a lot. Do you practice anything like meditation or visualization or positive mind techniques?
I meditate off and on. I haven't been consistent. Like I'll meditate every day for a month, and then I won't meditate for 3 months. and I always intend to get back to it, but I just need to set a time and do it. I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with regimented schedule.
Same here.
You do? Okay. Like I have no excuse at all. It's just, I fall off the wagon and then I get back on at some point. Visualization, I feel like I live in visualizations most of the time. I'm in my head a lot. And I've always seen things slightly askew from the way that most people see them, which is sometimes good. Like I'm good with it. I have a rich interior life. The inside of my head is really colorful. There are a lot of people in there, a lot of characters. But in dealing with the outside world, it can make things difficult sometimes in terms of communication, because I'm seeing things in my head and sometimes I'm not conveying them properly. Yeah, I think I live in visualization.
Are you a secret introvert?
I am very much an introvert. Very much so. Yeah, like I feel this is a horrible joke, but I always say that during this pandemic where we're all, inside, and you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm stuck inside the house." I don't feel stuck. Like I feel like I was created for a time such as this, where I'm in here, I'm drawing, I paint, I write. It's like an artist's dream, except for the part where people are getting sick and dying.
Yeah. Now I got to think of a happier note for a last question.
No. I'm sorry. Well, we are going to get through this. We will. There's a lot going on right now. I think the only way we come through this is if we elevate. I don't see, and I tweeted this either yesterday or the day before, I don't see how we make it through this with the status quo. We can't. We're going to destroy ourselves and each other. As horrible as it is, that it took getting to this point for changes to happen, I think we're going to have to see and make changes in the way that we live and the way that we deal with one another, in order for healing and reconciliation to take place. We have to. And I believe that there are enough of us who want to do that we will.
Great. I hope so too. Well, I appreciate all you're doing to put positivity out there and to affect change in the world. So it's really been an honor to finally meet you and speak with you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me here today. And it's good to see your face, like, for real.
Yeah, I think I've aged about 10 or 15 years during the 4 years of Trump. I was thinking if I was an actor, that would be a dangerous thing.
Right. Yeah. And unless I'm writing for you, and then I would write something for you.
Thanks for listening to Living from the Soul. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review. This is an ad-free podcast supported by my books, which are available at samtorode.com. The theme music was created by Gideon Torode.